Really good, Childer, that's the lame. That's the name. You gotta remember. I love you. Enjoy this lady life subscribed. It's very rich. Child, what is your craziest one-night stand story? I went back to a girl's place, and after whatever, I was looking at the wall and found my picture on it, which really peeped me up for a few minutes. But turns out it was a picture of me and her female cousin in a club, and that was the only recent picture she had of her cousin, and I was a coincidence. Could it be possible that she subconsciously saw your face often in the picture, and so when she met you in real life, you looked familiar and friendly to her? I feel like that's what happened, because I'm pretty sure that's why my wife married me. My picture is on the wall in a bar. She went out photos of myself to tack up in bars around town. So long as fear not next to any stranger danger away in his posters. I had a girl bite. My dick woke up the next day with a saw. Dick jumped in the shower and there is a tooth mark like I'd been sucked off by a damn beaver. Wrong kind of beaver, unfortunate lion or find. Wrong kind of damn beaver. I have a good one for this, was in my early 30s and had recently gotten out of a bad relationship. I ended up chatting with a girl from Cupid that I thought was very pretty and intelligent. She was a PhD candidate at NUFO philosophy. Our plan was to go to an art show, and then a bar after the art show had free wine, which was a good cost saver for me. But for her, the wine wasn't even close to her appetite. We get to the bar, and she immediately orders 3 shots of whiskey for each of us, and now later of even more shots. I'm completely blasted. We end up taking a cab back to my place. We start getting into it, despite both being very drunk. She's aggressive, so she starts riding me on the bed hard. A moment later, she punches me in the face. I shake it off like it was an accident, but that she does it again, and when I say punch, I mean it. It was definitely hard enough to break my nose. Though thankfully she didn't in any case. I'm really drunk, so I don't react at all. About a minute later, she gets exhausted, rolls off me, and falls asleep instantaneously. She sleeps for the next 11 hours. I wake her up because I have to go to work. Never saw her again. I've always wondered what happened to Meyer from Californication. I saw that show after this had happened. It didn't go down quite like that. I think my date was just so drunk that she was confused. I'm not sure if she meant to punch me, or was just trying to slam her hands down behind me, or what. Her passing out moments later gave me a strong, I'm not in total control vibe. Nice girl I had been talking to for a while. Asked me what I thought about one-night stands. Obviously, I said that since I live alone, I only use one anyway, got ghosted. After that, I went to a college party with 4 of my roommates' suite styles, so 3 rooms of 2 people to a very small living room. While there, we got on the topic of names. My last name is not said the way it's spelled. The vowels are all jumbled. One of the girls, they're really clamped onto my weird last name and saying back and forth, and we got to talking, and I ended up taking her back home. At some point, my suite/room mates came home too with girls, luckily not my roommate. Well, middle of dicking down with 4 people in our suite and 2 in the room next to us banging, she very loudly yells out my full name. I suddenly realized I have no clue what her name's. The whole night we only ever reference my name, so I do the only logical thing my very inebriated mind can. I yell out my full name. I yell my own name during sex. With an audience outside and 2 people peeping next door. Everyone in the suite starrying, laughing, the people next door banging, break out laughing. The girl I'm with, without missing a beat, very, very loudly screams my full name again. I never heard the end of it. For the semester, and next my friends always use my full name from then on. Luckily, the girl thought it was funny, and anytime I pass her on campus, she makes sure to say hi, flirtingly, and use my full name. I accidentally became a legend thanks to my suite mates, because they thought I had the balls to yell out my own name during sex, when really I was just a drunk idiot who didn't have the sight to learn a girl's name. This is a good story, lol. People usually stick to baby, but you just said your own name. Mal. Legend went on a date, and I finally got to want to come up to my place. I never been to her place, so I was shocked that not only it was a small-sized studio apartment, but she had 8 cats there. So we were doing it while 8 cats were staring at us the whole time. When we started doing it doggy style, Mr. Lemon jumped on her back. The only reason why I know his name was because as he jumped on her back, she said, "Mr. Lemon, get off, you naughty boy." That counts as an orgy. I think you and about 10 pusses. At 21 at the time, had never had a one-night stand before. So story goes met a woman at a bar. We quickly get back to her place. In the morning, I have to get to work. I get dressed and head downstairs. I cross through the kitchen to get to the back door we came through last night. As I grab for the handle, I quickly glanced left and see an older woman sipping coffee. That woman happened to be my teacher from when I was in 3rd grade. I went so red, good God, my cheeks. We make eye contact, and I slowly exit. LOL. I didn't have runs for a long while after that. Maybe more funny than crazy, but here we are undefined. Did you just peep your old teacher's daughter? My man, wait. I thought he'd just peep with his old teacher. It only says an older woman. It could be same woman because of drunk vision, or is a comparison. Met a girl at a bar. Leave together too drunk to drive. So we end up climbing these exterior stairs on top of a parking garage. She's bent over the railing. When the security guard walks out the door slows, dude looks up and asks, yeah, are committing suicide or just having sex? Just sex? I said. He says, all right, be careful, and just walks away, clapping. Just walks away clapping. Was he clapping, or were you clapping? And everyone clapped? One night, I met a girl at a club. I went back to hers and started getting frisky. She said that she was body conscious, so wanted the lights out, and I was cool with that. Anyways, she's on top, grinding me hard, and we are both sweating loads. She's leaning in and kissing me, and I'm grabbing hurt. It's really having fun. After a while, I can feel the sweat pooling at the base of my neck, top of my chest. So I kind of just drop it off and end up rubbing my face. That's when I notice my sweat isn't normally like this. I taste blood on my lips, smell my fingers, and it smells like coins or something. I decided to let her finish. She's close to orgasm, but I'm freaking out a bit. I'm not in pain, and she seems happy. I finally stop her and say that I think something is wrong. So I kind of lean over to turn on the lamp, and she pulls the sheets up to hide herself. There's peeping blood everywhere. My hands are covered. She was covered seems like loads. I'm all like, WDF, are you okay? I've had a shower, but I'm scared now. She finally confessed to having her baby 2 days before, and it was postpart and bleeding totally normal. Yeah, absolutely normal. Apparently no, it FKN wasn't. Everything was trashed, but I laughed because at least no one was dying. I guess never did go back. WTF, modulatorily dropped. Was expecting you to say she had come on. Where's the baby? Lol, postpart, and bleeding is very, very heavier 2 days, like mats of blood clots and running down your legs every time you stand up. She must have been sore. So many questions low again. WTF speak face drunk in a sports bar in New Zealand. Brazilian woman 10 years older than me, somehow end up back at my place. She's riding me, but doesn't seem that into it. Asks in broken English if I have chocolate. I do. She shovels like half a block of cow colored in her mouth and starts smearing the rest on my chest, and now is moaning and really into it. She gushes like mattress soaking squirt leaves. Within 5 minutes, I pass out, wake up to a damp bed covered in chalk color with cow colored all over the sheets and UV and handprints, and smear chocolate up the walls. WTF, all you needed was a ping pong paddle, and that's an episode of Archer? Or is this enthusiast? A moment ago, lost my virginity at a New Year's party, was 17, spending the weekend with my much 30 years older brother, and he wanted to go out, so he ditched me at a friend's house. They had a foreign exchange student there from France. We ended up getting drunk and doing it on the sofa while someone else was on the other sofa, presumably watching. Never saw any of those people ever again. Edit for clarification. My brother is a half-brother and is indeed 30 years older than me. If people were watching me my first time, they could have blinked and missed the entire thing. My girl blinks, and I'm already downstairs making us a snack. Confirmed. Same story with this guy's girlfriend. By the way, you're out of cheese. I was in Africa on a volunteer trip. We worked at one camp, and there was another one about 4 hours away. A group of volunteers wanted to see our camp, so they spent a few days with us. Their last night at our camp, we decided to go out, started out at one bar, and the world got fuzzy after that. Next thing I know, an alarm was going off that wasn't mine, and a little Finnish blunt gave me a kiss and said, "Oh, speak. I'm late for our ride out of here," and off she went into the sunset. My friend were the ones who told me her name. Hooked up with girlie at a party. Had fun about a week later. Hooked up with girl B, we go for breakfast, and our server as girl A. Girlie and girl B are friends. Unfortunately, this is the end of the story, bait. You're alive to tell it, so that's nice. Had a nosebleed while going down, and MMC spotted hooked up in the bathroom of a curling club after hours. Definitely the most Canadian place I've ever hooked up. Not mine. But Eddie I worked with while we both attended the same college. Was quite the ladies' man, never saw him leave the bar by himself. One night, he left with a girl who was dressed all in pink shoes. Pants, top, hat are pink. Next day, he seemed off, so I asked him if he was okay. He told me when he woke up that morning at her place, the walls were pink, the carpet was pink, the sheets were pink. Everything was pink. He was too drunk the night before to really care. But what really made me laugh is that after she asked him if he wanted anything to help him hydrate before heading out, and he replied affirmatively, she came back with a Snapple bottle of pink lemonade. I think he may have hooked up with Elle Woods, went home with a guy during my time at uni. In the throes of the moment, he flung his t-shirt off and into what seemed to be a random corner. We were going at it for a while until suddenly we both stopped because we can smell smoke. Being very drunk, we didn't realize what was happening until out the corner of our eyes something burst into flames. Somehow, he'd thrown his t-shirt onto a lamp which had been on all night while he was out and was super hot. In his panic, he starts yelling, which causes his three-room mates to come running into the room while I'm just there, but naked, trying to protect what was left of my dignity, extinguish the fire. All good. I start putting my clothes back on to leave because moment is ruined and I'm no longer feeling it. He begs me to stay and carry on as if nothing happened, while his room is still there. I just ran out as quick as I could, always careful where I throw my clothes. Now not my story, but a friend of mine. We were at work, and during a little downtime, us three guys started to share our one-night stand stories. My friend went first. We'll call my friend Dave. He starts his story as being in a bar somewhere in Michigan with a couple of friends. Said he was having fun when he noticed a cute girl across the bar. As the night went by, he noticed that the cute girl had noticed his group of friends, and after building a bit of courage, he said peep it and walked over to introduce himself. He mentioned that besides being cute, she was very attractive. They hit it off, and they left the bar and headed to the girl's place. They had some wine, and one thing led to another on the couch, and they were making out a couple of seconds into making out. The girl stopped and pulled away. Dave said he thought that that's as far she was going to go that night, but was instantly surprised when she said, "Before we continue, I gotta let you know that I'm a freak. We can do whatever you want first, then it's my turn." Dave told us that he didn't think about it and immediately agreed. So the action went from the couch in the living room to her room. And he said they went at it for a good while, and they did everything BJY, 69, anal, etc. Once he finished, they laid in bed for a minute when she said, "Okay." My turn and got out of bed and walked out of the room. Dave said he got excited for it too and wanted to see what was in store. The girl came back moments later with large, empty dinner plate. Confused, he asked what it was for. The girl repeats again that she was a freak and hoped she wouldn't scare him, and asked Dave to go to the bathroom and poop on it to lay a log down as long as possible. Dave said he repeated what she had asked back to her, make sure he understood. The girl confirmed and said, "Yes, please. After you do it, I'm going to put it in the freezer and use it as a dildo." Later, Dave said he had to keep his word and agreed to the deed. However, he couldn't just poop on command and told her he would do it as soon as he needed to go too. Dave said the girl got back into bed and round number 2 got underway and they ended up passing out on the bed. Dave woke up sometime in the middle of the night and headed to the bathroom, not before grabbing the shiny white ceramic plate from the nightstand and laid a log down on it. He said that seeing a crap log on a kitchen plate started to make him wonder how much of a freak this girl really was, and I guess it scared him a little. Becky said he went back to the room, got dressed, and pieced out of the girl's place. What did he do with the plate? He said he took it to the kitchen and left it on the counter for her to find when she woke up. It was just after I got kicked out of my house when I was 16. Over the next 3 days at school, word spread pretty fast. Most of my friends melted away, and I've got a lot of judgmental looks anyway, so I'm trying to couch surf and sleeping over with anyone who will allow it. Well, after about 2 weeks, I've tapped out all my friends, and I'm sleeping in my car, and I get a text at 1:30 in the morning. It's from a senior girl who is drop-dead gorgeous. She was lonely and wanted to talk. After about 15 minutes on the phone of hearing her vent about how hard she has it right now, I hear her go, "Wait, you want triple X? You are triple X another guy with the same first name." Then she starts crying because she is complaining to the homeless guy and asks if she could do anything to help me. I just say that I really could use a chocolate milk. She laughs, and she says she can arrange that. She tells me where she lives, and luckily I'm able to find it. I'll delay 2,000 cell phones, but no internet on them. Well, I have to sneak into her house, and once I'm up in her room, she hands me a chocolate milk. I luckily avoid doing a spit take as she stands up, pulls off her shirt and panties, and gives the sexiest pair of doomy eyes I have ever seen. At that point, my brain no longer has DIBs on the blood supply, and we go at it. We laid there cuddling for a bit, and she says I have to get out of there before her parents wake up, so I sneak back out and back down to my car. We never spoke of that night to anyone, and I only saw her a couple times around school before she graduated. I never did get a chance to tell her that that night probably saved my life. So, Brittany, If you remember hooking up with an underclassman back in '07. Thank you. Oh, and the chocolate milk was delicious too. Haha, undefined edit too. She replied back. She does remember me. She actually has a wife now, but she did say it was a fun night. I told her thank you, and she had a bit of a giggle. Ha hair. They actually invited me to go bowling with them later this week. So that will be pretty fun. D-edit 3. So just got back from bowling, so yeah, they're in a bowling league. I got spanked so hard. They were offered to make mead in a sometime horror. I did bring 2 chocolate milks for them. They about fell over laughing. I mentioned that I'm running at the end campaign, and they were really interested in trying it. Overall, it was really fun. They defiantly want to hang out again. Thank you all as well for your kind comments. I give all of you a virtual hug. 3 couch surf Clofields in exchange for lodging. He was plowing all right, but he didn't get lodging, just a chocolate milk standard British lads. Holiday's aunt, when I was 18, got with a girl in a club, went back to her hotel room, which she shared with her male gay friend. As we were getting to it, this guy burst into the room, and for some reason he took an instant dislike to me and demanded I leave. So we take a bedsheet and go out on the balcony of the hotel room, which was maybe 3 or 4 stories up. Do it on the balcony. Then we try to get back into the room so I can get my clothes, etc. But the room, it has locked the door, so we have to climb across to the next balcony naked apart from the bedsheet. Knock on the door of the next room and get them to let us go through their room so we can get to the front door of the girl's room so she can open it with her key so I can get my clothes and leave. The guys in this room were some Scottish lads who were sounders a pound and just found it funny. As I walked off, fully closed the gay room, it shouted at the top of his lungs after me. You're a speech shaggy appleant. He may not have been gay. I have always wondered. I was talking to a girl whose snap I found initially on Tinder. Didn't entirely think I hit it off, but there was convos here and there. For a few weeks, she seemed down to peep, but said that she couldn't do anything past 11 at night for some reason. After a shift of delivering pizza, I find that a snap was sent out of her riding a dildo. I ask if she's open for me to come over. I doubt it. Go to Waffle House to get my dinner and think it'll just fizzle, but no, she messages back, gives me an address, and I'm off into the Bulldog for some fun. The all-star breakfast drops in the back. It's about 11:30 at night. My phone won't charge, and my GPS guides me onwards. After some miscommunication, I find that she lives in a rural property a half hour away, in a trailer off her family's house. I parked my car off to the side of the road and snuck into the property as her parents were likely sleeping in the house stone's throw away, guided by her on the phone flashlight, leading me in. Legally, I probably could have been shot as a trespasser. Anyways, we've peeped for over an hour among a flock of cats on a couch inside the damn trailer. Doing just about everything and indulging her, king 4 people to bite her hard. I showered with her after, popped my uniform back on, and guided my way back to civilization on a dying iPhone battery, getting breakfast at McDonald's after and never talking to her again. The all-star breakfast drops in the back, pure poetry. I was fresh out of high school, long-term relationship, dated since high school, enter the end of university, and all my family and friends were pushing the narrative of have fun and go while being single. Since I was always in a relationship, I ended up matching with my first person on Tinder. They were very interested and asked me out on a first date. We ended up going for dinner and then having 6.5 with a condom. And then I got my wits together to put one on for a magnitude of reasons. Unfortunately, I was thinking with my penis instead of my brain. She confirmed she was on birth control prior to having sex. After we finished, she was in a hurry to end the night. I assumed I was a rusty partner. I ended up ending things after the first date since there was no spark. Turns out, exactly 3 months later, she says that she's pregnant and is going back and forth about an abortion. She ends up not getting the abortion and is sending emotionally charged messages and paragraphs of how I shouldn't abandon my child. I ended up being such a mess over it all that my appendix exploded the following 2 weeks when she said that she was going to take everything I have if I didn't support her child. Remind her that I'm a 4th-year student in boatloads of student debt, and I'm unemployed. I was lucky enough to smarten up and contact a lawyer. I ended up cutting any and all communications to a bare minimum and simply stated that I was not confident that the child was mine. She continued this charade until I took a paternity test after the birth, and I was thankfully cleared of any paternal connections. TL Doctor. I went through turmoil for 9 months with a one-night stand for my only Tinder match after an LTR so bad that my appendix burst from stress/anxiety and needed to have a legal paternity test to prove that I was not the father. Maury. She was probably pregnant when you banged her. She probably banged him because she was pregnant and she was looking for someone to pay for it. Bingo. Who knows how many men were on hold for this situation? I kid you not. The depth and personalization on each of the messages I received was enough for me to believe it. Her faster book would be updated with pregnancy progression photos. Her timeline matched when we had sex. It was peeping wild to say the least and caused a ton of immediate family issues, let alone a stress-induced to appendix explosion. Lucky, I'm in Canada to pay for that. I was on an Amtrak traveling alone. All of a sudden, one of the conductors comes down the island, introduces himself, then he walks away again. A few hours later, he comes back and says that one of the sleeper cars wasn't occupied and asked if I wanted to sleep there instead of my seat. I was young and not well versed on the pickup game. He was handsome, and I seriously just thought he was being nice. So I follow him down to the sleeper car, and he stays to talk with me. He was being a gentleman and not forcing anything on me anyway. The sparks were there, and we ended up hooking up. I fell asleep and woke up a few hours later. I went back to my seat and dozed off again. When I got up, there was a tray with breakfast and a rose. There was also an OE thanking me for a wonderful night. I never saw him again. True story. I'm in the wrong business suggestion box at work. We really need sleeper cars. My best one-night start and story is from a while back when Tumblr was still really peep. Why, there was this guy who posted videos of himself jacking off on his Tumblr. And I would enjoy viewing all of the stuff he posted. I had gotten into some anonymous exhibition stuff at that time and posted a video of myself to my Tumblr. Then I sent him a message telling him how hot I thought he was. Next thing I know, he posted a video of himself jacking off to my video. Super hot. We message a few more times, and it turns out we live in different cities in the same small country. His city in particular is pretty close to the major airport. Next time I'm flying out, I send him a message and tell him I'll be in his area. I stay overnight in a hotel the night before my flight, and we meet up and have a really hard, mostly 69-based hookup. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond my control, I ended up being unable to see him again for a while and lost track of him when Blur banished all of the blue material. TL, Doctor hooked up with a Tumblr Pete model that I crushed on. Did it turn into a big long thread of people ironically adding their own jacking off speaker sting in the tags and a bunch of now deactivated accounts? My best is about a one-night stand that wasn't mine. Had a friend at uni who looked vaguely like me, mainly similar long hair. I was sitting in a dining hall one evening and a young woman came up to me with a really concerned look on her face and said, "We need to talk about last night." I racked my brain to think about what I had done the previous night, and while I hesitated without saying anything, it dawned on her that I was the wrong person. I felt so sorry for her, with her mortified expression that Christ did was funny. I never met the other guy, but at my university, there was apparently someone that looked just like me, who also had a pretty legendary reputation. Frequently people would run up to me and be like, "You Donnie, last night was Sir Nuts, I can't believe you." "Oh, speak you're not Don Eve, peep dead, you look just like Donnie." And then they would walk away, "Wherever you are now, Donnie, I hope you're still rocking out, so to speak." I got this girl I met at a party into a work event with free booze, but no food when we planned on it for dinner. We proceeded to get hammered, go to the aft putty, and then roll to her place about 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. She sits me on her bed while she goes to put on something more comfortable. And I discover during the wait that she has rubber sheets on the bed. So I'm guessing things are about to get wild when she comes out of the bathroom in matching crotchless panties and a bra that did all the lifting but none of the covering. We start to get into it. And suddenly she reaches down to the foot of the bed and plants this legit leather doctor's back down like the kind from old movies when doctors made house call. She unzips it and it's full of sex toys. We vibe rabbit, bullet vibes, handcuffs, riding crop. She had it all. It was a veritable pippicopia. So she looks at me and goes, "Which one do you want to use?" "On me first." I chose the rubber banana, and she's henceforth known as Dr. Banana amongst my friends. Literally every word of that is true. I can't believe it happened to me. It even reads like sad fanfic. I have a few shortest one. I prostrate massage to guy into passing out. I was in a foreign country, no cell phone service in his workplace. After hours, he closes down the shop freak for a few minutes. Because I didn't know what was going on, if he needed help, and how much trouble he'd get into for having sex there. Luckily, he came around. I was traveling to Philadelphia from Kansas for a meeting. Halfway through the drive, my boss called me and said that the meeting was delayed and to take a week off. I didn't want to drive home to Texas, so I continued to Philadelphia to explore for a week. I checked into a hotel and drank quite a bit of whiskey before going downstairs to have a cigarette. I saw a gorgeous woman sitting outside having a cigarette as well, so I asked if I could sit with her. She was staring at her phone. So I tried to make small talk by asking her if she was from the area. It turns out she was Norwegian and just in the States for training. We talked for a while before exchanging Instagrams. At that point, her cowwalker showed up and I excused myself. I was back in my room completely hammered at this point when she messaged me. I asked her if she wanted to have breakfast the next morning that she was going home. She offered to have drinks instead. We went to a steakhouse right next to the hotel and had a few drinks before going back to the hotel. We had talked about that EV series The Office, which she had never seen before. So I asked her if she wanted to come watch it worked. 2 months later, I flew to Oslo to meet her again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I met my wife. Edit. I'm glad a lot of you enjoyed our story. I did not expect this to get so much attention. So here's a bit more info and answers to some questions. I'm aware this isn't technically a one-night stand. We have been married for 3 years now. We have both quit smoking cigarettes since then and almost never drink either. Pretty funny YMO. I moved to Norway Ashort while after we got married. We are very happy, and I'm so thankful to have found such an amazing woman. She did finally watch The Office about a year ago, and she loved it. Speak like this is awesome. The number of circumstances that needed to line up in order for this to happen is incredible. Cute guy on Tinder. I had moved from the US to Europe and was trying to complete my Men of Euro collection, and he was from Latvia, so I'm down. We meet for drinks, chat for a while. He's clearly nervous. Once we get a few drinks down, though, he awkwardly kisses the back of my head when I had turned to look at something. I said something snarky like, "Are you going to kiss me?" For a Litzen point. He of course does, and the world peeping stops, my heart stops, time stops. We don't stop making out except for long enough to pay, get into and out of the taxi, and get undressed at my place. We must have had sex 5 or 6 times that night. He cuddled me so tightly while he slept. We had sex twice more. The next morning, I offer to drive him home, and he accepts. Turns out I was his second only partner. He was 27, hence the bit of nervousness at first. We had sex more times in that one night than he had ever had long. I casually mentioned that I'd like to see him again. Sex was hot, AF, and I genuinely thought he was an interesting dude. He actually texted me a few days later, and we started regularly hooking up. The next year, I received that you were supposed to be a one-night stand coffee mug for Valentine's Day. We are currently building a house together and have been together for over 4 years. Ida, I never did complete my Men of Europe collection. Okay, this is so sweet. I was about to be so sad if you guys didn't end up together. Went on holiday abroad with a maid in 1996. Went in our early 20s first night. Met a girl who was on our last night and wanted to literally leave with a bang. Had great fun. Said our goodbyes the next morning. Presumably never to see each other again. A month later, me and some mates decided to go out on her and a night to a nearby city we probably visited twice before in the previous 5 years. First pub. We walk in, there's the girl, get chatting, and agree to meet up the following night for a date. We do so and have an unbelievably great evening followed by an equally great passionate night. Been together ever since. Husband and wife for the last 22 years and have 2 great kids. I hooked up with a girl at a club in front of the beach. When the club closed, we proceeded to the beach where everyone would hang out after and started making out and some foreplay in front of everyone won. We decided we wanted to have 6, but had no condoms. So we bought one from a street seller that sold beers and apparently condoms. We tried to find a quad place without people so we could do our business. And when she's on top of me, putting Middaic inside her so we can start having sex, she screamed super loud. At first I thought I heard her some way, but then I saw a big shadow behind her moving, running away. When we catch a glimpse of the guy, was the guy that sold Sevens a condom trying to steal her purse while we were having sex. This guy had the audacity to watch and wait for the moment where both of us were busy and not looking at the bag. He didn't succeed. After that, we both went separate ways since neither of us had a place to have sex and got trauma from trying outdoors. I was going to have life-changing cancer surgery in 3 days, and the neighbors, who I'd never met, were having a massive party. I was tired, exhausted, and wanted to sleep, but the noise was out of control. Went next door to tell them to be quieter and ended up having a threesome with 2 of the guys there. Went to my surgery with hikes like I was some teenager who couldn't control themselves. Hope you're all right now. My question is, how does the situation go from I'm gonna tell these guys to shut up to then becoming sex? I feel like some very important pieces of the story are missing. Gentlemen, please keep it down, or I swear to God, I will peep each and every one of your brains out. My oblivious SAS would probably hear something like that and think, oh Speep, she sounds angry, but she's hot. Maybe if I do what she says and keep the noise down, I might have a shot with her someday. Not my story, but a guy I worked with a while back told me about a girl he picked up from a bar. Once brought her home. She pissed in his bed and left before he woke up. Was she a cat? I've had more than a few one-night stands in my life. The craziest, for multiple reasons, was my friend inviting me out because he was meeting up with a girl who was going to sublet her place to him. And he wanted to see if she was normal. I'm not. We go to her place, and as we walk up to the house, I realize it's a friend's old place, and she's the nay tenant. Super weird coincidence. Anyway, we go in and look at it, and Essie's normal. She's extremely cute, has 2 cute friends over. She invites us to have some drinks. Of course we say yes. We're all getting along, hitting it off and having a great time. A few more drinks go down. One of her friends, who is a stunning Persian girl, and I keep making eyes. She seemed to like the fact that I had my bike because she biked too. Eventually, my friend goes out to smoke with 2 of the girls. The Persian girl and I are alone. We look at each other and just instantly start making our zero hesitation for either of us. They come back in and she goes, I need to go, but my new friend is going to bike home with me to make sure I get home. Okay, sure, message received. We get on our bikes to go toward my place and start riding through a field that's enormously bumpy and both fall down. We are tanked and have no balance. We start fooling around in the middle of the field before deciding to keep making our way back. We end up walking our bikes a short distance back to my apartment and get to it. Her body is spectacular. Our chemistry is crazy. I had never eaten mass before, but I felt absolutely compelled to. We went for hours, showered. When again, just one of those magical nights. We part ways, hunger but feeling good. We were texting again, later some dirty talk. The next weekend, while she's at work. While we were together, she mentioned she always wanted to sleep with a girl. But it had never happened. While we were texting, I told her one of my FWB was B and that we should initiate her. I'm describing her name, attributes, body, etc. She stops texting me. I start texting my FWB to tell her about this girl I think she would like. An hour or so later, the Persian girl texts and no speep. She sent her selfie with my FWB, if peeping worked together. I have no idea how they broached the conversation, but it was absolutely wild to be texting them separately. Meanwhile, they are both serving in the same restaurant. Anyway, I wish I had a conclusion about how this led to a threesome with them, but somehow it didn't despite the stars aligning fun night. That really makes me long for those carefree days of being in my early 20s. They probably hooked up, definitely did source. I had a threesome before with my then FWB and a random girl we had met one night. We only met 3 of us couple times, but the 2 girls slept together regularly. Probably even more than my FWB and I did. Hard. I once met a girl on a night out of drinking, talking a lot, but even though she wanted more, I was not interested at the time. We sent messages every now and then for about 6 months, and we found out we were both going to attend to some kind of school party. We were both 16 or 17, I think. Turned out she knew the owner of the discotheque where it was held, and she got 2 VIP tickets. She was happily to give me one if I would do her that night before we went there. I live very close to the venue, so I picked her up and took her inside. As soon as I closed the front door, she asked if someone was home, lived with my parents still at SC, and I said no. Before I could finish the O, she took off her clothes, took of mine, did staff. She was in full control right there in the hallway. One of the hottest initiatives I have experienced until this day. Of course, it didn't last that long, and I think in 10 minutes we were on our way to the party. We both get crazy drunk because, the IP so free drinks. 7 hours later, in the early morning, I drop her we're off at home, and she says her parents are not there. We go inside, and I don't know what happened, but I hop on my bicycle 3 hours later to go home. We have been tearing each other apart for the full 3 hours. We never had any clothes on, we ducked showers, we had food, and more drinks. We were constantly touching each other. There was no end to it, except when I went home. While writing this down, I still get a boner when I think about the stuff we did. And there was not a sexless moment for more than 2 minutes or so. Spoke to her the next day, and never again saw her. About 8 years later, she was still looking amazing, and she recognized me, winked at me, and went on her way. What a girl. The ending is very The Dark Knight, Rises-esque. Who is Alfred? And who is Batman? Managing a Taco Bell, 20 meters late night. Walked by the drive-through window and heard Hey Your Heart want my number. She was a freshly graduated Romanian exchange student. We hooked up in the parking lot in my boat of a book. Me and this girl had a 7-hour drug-fueled Pete Fest as teenagers. We only ever spoke the day before the act, and up until I dropped her off at home, she ghosted me immediately. Fast forward 10 years or so. She's my wife's best friend, undefined. In case you're all wondering and dodging babies, because of these chicks. To this day, Hop's wife saw the comment, and I'm assuming he is now dead. I hope you're okay, Hop. This one is more his story than mine. I was new in town and single and walking into a swap meet when I made eye contact with a guy on a motorcycle. Next thing you know, I'm chatting him up. He's fairly cute and has a great bike and tells me it's his birthday. I'm like, this is your lucky day because I'm still in my biker face and crazy like that. We go for a great ride in the mountains and had dinner in a nice little restaurant, and I take it back to my apartment. I hope somewhere he still thinks about that birthday gift and smiles. If it was at a party with friends at 8 a.m., I went home with one of my friends EM and 3 of his friends, 2 boys, 1 girl. We had an amazing night. Everyone peeped. Everyone in a huge bed while smoking weed. In the middle of the night, I got a seizure while sleeping, didn't wake up from it. Everyone was asleep, but my friend woke up, gave me some benzodiazepine, and I fell asleep again. Next morning, everyone left except my friend. We were at his house, and we never talked about it again. I had an amazingly weird night. Almost died, smoked some weed, licked some stuff, and we never talked about it again. But I thank him a lot because he saved my life, because 2 weeks later I went to the doctor. Turned out I have epilepsy. Although, I done back quote T remember having a C-shirt. I will never forget this day. So I met this girl on Tinder for dating. Things are going pretty well. She asked me back to hers, and I accept, but gave me a warning that she still lives with her mom. This didn't bother me, as I still live with my father cause moving out is too expensive on your own. While we get back to hers and briefly meet her mom. She's this typically lovely mom that bakes brown, is etc. Then go upstairs to play a game. We start fooling around, and one thing leads to another, and she's going down on me. She keeps going, and next thing I know, I'm close to the tipping point. Suddenly we hear the door handles start to turn. And who could it be? Her mother, who's expecting to see us playing, awesome speep, but about to witness her daughter playing hungry, hungry hippos. She jumps up, startled, and turns to look at the door. But at this point I have gone too far, and the men have fired their cannons. I shoot Miley-Ode straight into the back of her head, like my dick was possessed by Lajavi's Wald. She quickly pushed the door to, and spoke to her mum with it in her hair, dripping down, while I frantically put my clothes on. Thankfully, we wasn't caught, at least I don't think. But it was a horror story of events. TDLR shot Miley-Ode into the back of her head while she answered the door to her mom. Dick was possessed by Lajavi's Wald. Just peeping kill me. Met a woman in the check-in line for a flight. We hit it off and we're drinking in the bar, waiting and drinking. Flight is delayed, very delayed. We bought and go our separate ways. Well, it's delayed so much that we missed our connections. Airline is putting us up in hotel. Start making out in the bus. On the way to the hotel, we check into 2 rooms, but only used one. My flight left first, and I got up at 4 a.m. and went to the shuttle. This will get buried, but I'm glad for my time to shine. One warm spring night, I was hanging out at my local bar when an unfamiliar dude approached me and asked if I had any weed. I said yeah, and we started walking to my place. Now, if any girls are reading this, you might be thinking red flag, don't go places with strange men, and you're 100% correct. But I'm 6'0" in heels, and at this point I was about 315 pounds. When I'm put together, ran cute, but I'm definitely not conventionally attractive. As such, I'm not exactly an ideal target for sexual violence. Thus, I've never really had to be cautious around men in a hoe. About the second we step out of the bar, he turns to me and says, I don't really want weed, I just want to eat your peep y'all. My jaw dropped. This dude was final hell, muscular, tall, and handsome, like a high school cartback from the movies, and he wanted to bury his face between my fat thighs. We made a beeline to my spot, where he made good on his offer and refused any reciprocation. Then he went back to his friends, and I never saw him again. Not my experience, but a mate of mine that still makes me laugh. My friend just got out of a serious relationship of a few years and got his heart broken, spent a little while being sad, and after a couple of weeks, was like, I'm gonna go to a bar with friends, went out, had a couple, and saw a girl he had a thing with once upon a time. They catch up, and she ends up saying come back to mine tonight. They went back and did the deed whole night. He didn't think of his ex once my homeboy blasted all over her face, and not even a moment after he was finished, and she had spunk all over her. She goes, so, why did you and your ex break up? Apparently all he could say was brawn, and it makes me laugh every time the story is brought up. Imagine the sweat and all of the deed, and then all of a sudden brothers like a comedy setup or something. Mayo met woman at a friend's birthday party. She's a college volleyball player. So she's about 6'2". I'm only 5'9". We start talking. She says we should get out of there and go somewhere more comfortable. We go back to my place. Since she was visiting from out of town and didn't have a place of her own there, we start things slow and then things get saucy, but only one thing that kind of weirded me out. She asked to keep the lights on, which I'm cool with cause this chick was fine and I like to watch that. She demanded we make constant eye contact the whole time. So we join in and she's refusing to look away, even in doggy style. She cranked her head all the way around and is staring at me. We finish and I'm like, well, that was cool. I mean, it was great. But the eye contact freaked me out. So I take her back to our friend's party, and she never made eye contact with me ever again. Found out later it was because she wanted to experience a shorter guy once in her life to see if she liked it. She liked the sex, but she didn't want to be in a relationship with a short dude. Oh well, her loss. You all are goddamn magicians. Awesome speep. I have no idea how one night stands ever happen. So many we locked, then we were making out actual superpowers. I swear to God, I'll never understand it. I went to his house. It was dark, and when we finished and I was leaving, I opened the lights, and there was lots of pictures of him and his wife and kids. And when I got out, his wife was in the driveway. Be Powerful invited a guy I met on Bumble over, because frankly, he was the hottest man I have ever seen in real life. I thought I had won the one night at jackpot, so we did the thing. He sleeps over cause it was late, and we had some wine, and then I woke up around my usual time, which is 7-8 a.m. Homeboy was still sleeping, but I figured just leave him be while I went about my morning routine. Dude sleeps in my bed until 11:30 a.m. Well, but okay, I guess. He gets dressed and tells me he's going to the gym. I'm like, okay, cool. He then asks what I want for dinner later. So he knows what to get at the store. I'm internally like, I don't remember inviting you for another night, but I just felt awkward, so I was like, surprise me. He comes back a few hours later, her arms loaded down with groceries, and sets about making dinner steak. I allow it because, like I said, very sexy man cooking me. Staking his boxes here for it. It was just a weird day though. While we eat, we get to know each other a bit more, and I learned that homeboy sleeps in his car and showers at the gym. He is homeless. I realized right then that he was trying to move in after one meeting. I made excuses to avoid another sleepover later and told him I'd text him. I was immediately blocking him. We say goodbye at the door, and he says with the most earnest look on his face, "It was really great knowing you." He knew TL, Dr. One Night, Stan turned out to be homeless, and try to move an undefined one. I was only interested in casual dates at the time. I had just gotten out of a long-term, abusive relationship. That is why his looks were a motivation for inviting him over to I never, at any point, laughed at him. I laughed at myself because I truly tried to hide that I wouldn't be contacting him again, but he saw right through me. I didn't want him to feel awkward, but I'm a miserable liar. Unfortunately. 3. I did not block him because he was homeless. I have a lot of compassion for the homeless, and have even found myself to be in a couch-hopping, castle-ping position before. I blocked him because he tried to move in without asking and overstayed his welcome. He was a stranger. His actions were what turned me off. Please be kind, and don't judge me without getting more info. First homosexual, that one night, I went home with a girl really drunk, and woke up in my own piss, and quietly snuck out in the MU/say when there's him. His story was the other way around. But I wouldn't doubt that this happens way more than you'd think. The last time I attempted a one-night stand, I failed spectacularly at the one-night part. Got too drunk at a friend's party and started flirting with one of her husband's friends. He ended up giving me a ride home. I don't drive. Later that night, after we had both sober DAP, we hooked up in his back seat and I didn't give him my number. But I ended up hanging out with my friend again the next weekend. And oh, what a surprise. Look who else they invited. We got married last year. Edited to clarify. I took a bus once 4:15 out to see a girl I met gaming online, spent a weekend with her, and never saw her again. I still remember, because that weekend was amazing. My one and only one-night stand, New York City. Met this girl, a gorgeous former Israeli soldier, through mutual friends. We hit it off. I had tickets to the Global Citizen Festival and sent Park Black Peas for fighters Neil Young. She came with, and we had a great time. Afterward, we were walking to the train, and I went to say goodbye, and she kissed me on the spot and said, "We're going back to my apartment, and I'm peeping you." We made out the whole way back to her place on the train. She gave me one of the best blowjobs I've ever had, and actually told me my dick was beautiful. And we had sex twice that night. She was supposed to come to my place a few days later, but it got canceled because of Iraq and Sandy, and I had to leave New York. She ended up meeting a guy on a dating app a few months later, and now they are married and live in Texas. Back in the early days on MySpace, I got a message out of the blue from a very attractive woman. I was 19, she was 31. She was a singer in a 90s band who had just moved to Atlanta from New York. We were both very much into the music scene, and she thought I was a train and wanted to hang out. But I'd recently lost my license due to a motorcycle incident, reckless driving. Long story, so I told her I'd have to pass as I didn't have a ride. She offered to drive half an hour to come get me. So I said sure. She picked me up and took me back to her place. She had a very nice house, super cool place. She played her album for me, and we talked and watched a movie that starred Joe Strummer, The Clash. This was long before Netflix and chill. I guess it was like VHS and People or something. Halfway into the movie, she asked if she can go down on me. Absolutely. She went down on me for the entire second half of the movie, and we had sex. After, she asked me to spend the night. And we got breakfast the next morning, and she drove me home. It was an interesting night, wasn't really crazy. I never felt that comfortable around someone I'd only known for an hour. Though it was a nice night. 12 years ago, I hooked up with this woman from work. We both agreed it was going to be a one-time thing. We have been married for 9 years, have 2 kids, 5 cats, a dog, and a house, 5 cats. A while back, I was doing a single duds do by doing some Tinder swiping. At this point in my career as a single man, I was already pretty over the apps and was being extremely picky. I came across this stunning woman, and for once, I immediately swiped right. It was a match. I took this opportunity to look over her profile a little more and realized that she looked really familiar. Though I couldn't conjure an idea of why this was the case, I decided to just be direct and say something to the effect of, "Hey, I know you from somewhere, don't I?" She unmatched me immediately, which, to be honest, stung a little bit because I didn't find myself being as instantly interested in someone on Tinder as I was with her. Fast forward a week for context. I'm managing a restaurant in Norriston, TX. At this point, this is post-quarantine and the peak of the staffing shortages, so it's been a rough several months since I got transferred to this location, the company I was employed with. On this day, in particular, I had to fire one of my full-time servers because he has been getting creepy with some of the women we worked with, which put the schedule in dire straits. I got desperate and called my friend. Let's call her Mandy to ask her to pick up some shifts, even though I had previously denied her ability to do this because of a difficult availability. She answers the phone and says, "Hey you, I was literally just talking about you," which confused me a little, but I was too much in work mode to really process it. She agrees to come back to work. And then not 5 minutes later, my host approaches me and says, there's a call on the line from a former employee that wants to pick up some shifts. So naturally, I'm like miracle from the peeping sky. This is exactly what I need right now. I pick up the phone and chat with the woman for a few minutes. And she agrees to come in and talk with me about everything the next day. We exchange names at the end, and I realize that this is the woman who unmatched me on Tinder. When I say my name, she lets out a bit of surprised giggle as well. So I knew she realized who I was at that point as well. She shows up the next day with Mandy and Toe to talk to me. Then have dinner at the restaurant after she is somehow even more stunning than she looked online. And I'm sweating because I have a very strict no fraternizing with staff rule for myself. But we have immediate chemistry as soon as we start talking, and there's absolutely an unspoken mutual attraction. So I know that this is going to be weird, but I'm so short-staffed that I can't even really argue with it. And let's call her Massey. And Mandy end up sitting at the bar of the restaurant for the next 2 hours or so, and we keep on meeting eyes. At one point, Massey goes to the bathroom, and I walk up to Mandy, who I've known for years, and ask her if I was delusional or if Massey and I'd matched on Tinder. To which she responds, "Oh yeah, and she's totally into you." The attraction has now been confirmed, which makes working together that much harder. Her first day, there's definitely some flirting happening, but I'm trying to keep things professional, and at the end of the night, I'm talking to her about scheduling, and I just say, by the way, let's not talk about it, please, to which she responds sarcastically. Talk about what? I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's been acknowledged, but buried as far as I'm concerned. Turns out I was wrong, because this flirtationship heaps up incessantly for the next month and a half, with moments like her messaging me for drinks at 1 a.m., us following each other on Instagram, which I know I shouldn't have done, but did anyways, us having text exchanges that happened organically and ended up being meaningful conversation, etc. One day, we are both closing and end up talking at the end of the night for like an hour, and at this point I know that I'm peeped. The next day at work, I'm about to leave, and I see her polishing silver web by herself, looking stunning as ever, and I just snap and ask her to come have a drink with me, to which she obliges. We agree to go to our mutual favorite bar, and she asks me to pick her up. Turns out her place is a 2-minute walk from said bar, so I'm a touch confused at the time. And at this point I'm determined not to sleep with her and to instead just blow off some steam by having a drink with her. We get there and immediately dive into having the best first date of my life. Sparks are flying all over the place, and suddenly the conversation stops and we're just looking in each other's eyes. We immediately start making out. It's the best kiss that's ever been documented in recorded history. I've completely relinquished control over the situation by now. Peep it. What happens, happens. She and I walk back to my car rand, and I drive her the 30 seconds it takes to get back to her place. She wants me to come upstairs with her. But I'm concerned because we've been drinking and I don't want to take advantage in any way, shape, or form. She proceeds to tell me that she had me pick her up so that I would have to take her home, and that this was already in the books for her as far as she had been concerned. So we go upstairs and fool around until like 4 a.m., and it's incredible. We end up both passing out in her bed and wake up the next morning, do it again, then part ways. I'm freaking out at this point because I just broke my number one rule by sleeping with a server. Not to mention that I really liked her, so I didn't know how to keep this under wraps, but I knew this had to be a one-night thing. I have a day off on this particular day, but we have a pre-scheduled meeting with the managers, so I go in. Anyways, out of nowhere, my director of operations calls me and says that one of the managers at another store had been injured and they needed my help over there. My last day at the current location just happened to be the previous day. Now everything was legal by some miracle. I text Massey to inform her about this, and we proceeded to spend every single night together going forward. That was a year ago. We've had a whirlwind, man. Some healthiest relationship I've experienced in my life. We now live together and share a beautiful life together. She's my best friend, and I just know I'm going to marry her. Best one night, stand ever TLDR, matched on Tinder, got unmatched. But somehow met in real life, flirted for 2 months, hooked up, now in love. He had a giant Irish flag on one wall and a giant Canyon flag on the other to represent both sides of his family tree. I guess he cut holes in one of them to let in light from the windows, though hard for me to judge because we only met after I threw up in his house while blacked out drunk a few months earlier. Thank you so much for forum reading the child. Read it with child you like this, Spios subscribably common, and see you next time, ready for each other. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.